Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So we got the little Losi Micro B and we've got an Injora part. So yeah, we're a bit hit and miss with Injora parts. Some fit good and work good, some not so good. But this is the carbon front tower. So the part number is LOS 04F. So we've got the GPM shocks that not had any problem with these sticking or anything. They seem pretty good. So let's see if we can fit this shock tower with the GPM shocks. Be interesting to see. We do get a whole load of screws and everything in here and some little nuts. So maybe time for some thread lock. But yeah, let's bring in for a very close-up look because it's micro and see how we get on with these. So first off, let's have a look what we get in the packet. Now we do get the carbon shock mount, which looks quite nice. We do get resealable zip bags, which I do appreciate getting these. Does make things a lot easier. So we get a nice carbon, pretty nice finish on it. We have got some countersinking on these holes at the bottom. I know it's going to be pretty difficult to see this because one, it's black, and two, it's tiny. But yeah, it looks like it has got the countersinking for the original, or where the original screws are. And they have made his job slightly easier on this with the fact that we've got some silver screws. So we've got 3 brass inserts for these shocks. We've got 3 longer screws. We've got 4 nuts. And then we've got 6 screws that all look to be the same length. Guessing they're what we're going to use to mount this. So let's bring the RC back in. I'm wondering if the brass inserts and the extra screws, I'm guessing they're just spares. It's nice to get some spares, and we do have sealer zip bags. So if we have a look what size driver or stock ones, I'm going to be using this MIP 050 driver to remove the top of the shock towers. And just be careful on these that we don't lose any of us washers, because we may need them. And a stock setting is on the outer of the holes. So we quickly remove both the screws for the top of the shocks. Now on these we do have the inserts with the little rubber band on the back, so it's going to be interesting to see how these are going to work. So next we've got the 4 mounting screws all on here, so I'm going to get all 4 of them removed. Right, so that's all the screws are. Unfortunately the bottom one snapped as I'm trying to take it out, and these aren't thread locked in. It's not the only one that I've had this problem with. On trying to remove one of these on the rear, it also snapped off. And these are the stock Losi nuts and bolts. So yeah, not great. They do tend to snap off for some reason when you're removing them. But for the time being, I've tried drilling it out. There's nothing you can do with it, but these bits are dirt cheap anyway, so I'll just get another of them ordered. So the stock Losi screws, they feel really stiff in this. Let's try the Injora screws, see if these feel any better. There's still an 050 head, so these do feel a little bit looser. So let's see if we can line these up. So far these don't feel too bad. Don't feel like they're cross-threading or anything. So again, with these I just go so gently with them. Working on such a small scale, it's so easy for these to just snap off, and there's not really, they're that small. You can try and remove them, but there's not really anything you can do. But that's got a shock mount fastened on. Now for me, I think the sensible route would probably, seems though we've got the GPM shocks, you're probably going to be better off going with the GPM bolts, but let's see if these are actually going to reach. So it does look like they go through. You've got plenty of space on the back, so it doesn't look like we're going to have any problems. It does look like they cleared the shock tower with just one washer on the back as a spacer, so we can get them through. And then we should have just enough room on the back to get these little tiny nuts on. So it doesn't look like when we tighten that up we're getting any problem with the movement of these shocks. And these things are goddamn tiny. So it does look like they'll fasten on. I'm not going to put thread lock on these at the moment because I'm probably just going to order a new one of them. I've got a new casing already because I can't get the snapped off screw out of that as well. I can't remember if it's one of these front ones or one of the back ones. But yeah, if you've watched any of my vids, I've put these in really gently, and up to now the head snapped off two, taking them out, which is annoying to say the least. But yeah, we got one snapped off and in that, and one snapped off and in the back. But as of fit and finish on this, it does seem to fit perfect. Doesn't feel like it's affecting the shock travel at all in any way, fastening it on like that. Yeah, the stock bolts that we're using for the GPM parts are long enough for the nuts to go on back. If there wasn't, you can always put them on with them, and you can leave the excess or cut it off. The other option you've got is to try and fit the ball joint in the top of the GPM shock. Not really sure how well that's going to work out, but you would be able to mount it that way. But certainly that doesn't feel bad at all. It's not affecting the shock travel in any way. It's not stopping them coming back up. So yeah, does seem to fit. The other thing we can try, so it does look like fitting them that way wouldn't be an issue. So if we take out the nut and washer and we remove the little O-ring from the back of the shock, and we can pop that whole assembly out. And if we look at the brass one, it looks like they're just going to fall straight through if we tried to go for that approach. So certainly don't think that would be a good way of doing it. Technically you could probably get away with putting the O-rings on the outside of it, but you're definitely going to have a lot of play in there. Another approach would be to have this standard part in, and we'll just pop the little rubber O-rings back on. So if we then grab one of the Injora screws and we put that through, and then we go for one of the washers, then we can try one of the nuts. And all I'm going to see is if there's any benefit to actually spacing these out. So we've still got his washer in place, and if we line that up, so we can take that approach, and then that will allow you to put a locking nut on the back of here, so you can lock that. and you can see we've got slight movement now on the top of that shocker, whereas that's held pretty solid, pretty rigid. This, you've definitely got a little bit of play and movement in it, so if you're worried about it binding, you can do it that way. Probably for the way the suspension works, it's probably better that way. So I would say, looking at it, to me it seems like this would be a better way of doing it, just using both of the nuts to sort of lock it in place without over tightening the outside of it, and you can keep a little tiny bit of play in the top of your shock. Whereas this way, to get this tight, it's probably going to tighten it up to the point where it's not moving at all. So certainly doing it this way does seem like it gives you that little bit of freedom in the top of the shocks. They do look like they line up fine from the top, but yeah, a few different ways of getting it to work. The Injora screws seem to fit through the carbon better, but yet they still threaded into the GPM part, so that's fine. Other than the head snapping off, which is a bit annoying, but probably going to order a new one of them. I've already got a new one of them to replace the back one that sheared off. But yeah, it's just sort of part and parcel with these tiny little RCs. These little screws and bolts, they're not that strong. But yeah, looks like the Injora mount does actually fit fine. I'm not seeing any issues with it. Does look nice. Gives you plenty of options of your shock mounts. So yeah, that's the Injora LOS 04F front shock tower on the Losi Micro B. All fitted, and yeah, looks quite nice. Let's wrap this one up. So there we have it, the LOS 04F, I think it is, yep. Front carbon shock tower from Injora for the Losi Micro B. It does fit with the GPM shocks. There's plenty of options for nuts and bolt configuration, and you do also get the brass inserts that I believe work with the stock shocks and possibly the Injora shocks, but I ain't got any of them to try it. I know there's a whole bunch of different shocks out for these things now, so be an interesting one. Unfortunately, we've lost another screw, so that's two we've lost. There's one snapped off in back somewhere, one snapped off in front, and I've tried everything to get these out. I ain't got anything small enough to extract them. So yeah, I'll be buying a new metal bulkhead bit, I think that is. I've already got the rear bit. Still yet to figure out why the GPM gears sort of lock up now and again when I'm spinning this. It's not freeing off at all. Like there, it's really stiff, so I've got to strip that down when I change the rear housing anyway. But yeah, it's getting there. But thanks again for watching Wtf Rc Cars. Hopefully you find this useful, entertaining, or a bit of both. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, chat to friends and family, and catch you guys again in the next one.